tremendously overdressed this morning for the Wade and Carter program. It's like, what, you have a full day, no doubt.
Well, yeah, yes. 6 a.m. was already on the news. So,
were you really? Oh goodness. How are things besides crazy? I want to hear what we had a Dr.
There's
Fauci.
A lot happened since we were here.
Yes,
last.
sir.
So yeah, we have a hearing with Fauci coming up next week. We just had a hearing with Morenz, who was his basically right-hand person for 25 years. Also,
Martin, was that Martin? You were in that?
Morenz, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see what he said about the weaponization of our military? I mean, of our medical community, how they just misled the public, and is that what that guy was talking
You're talking
about?
a different guy, but
okay.
But yeah, this guy was
trying.
He had a whole email history of doing everything he can to avoid FOIA. He was best friends with Daszak, who was the head of EcoHealth, who funded the Wuhan lab.
Wow.
So you have this connection here where he's just email after email after email talking about avoiding FOIA. And then he tried to say, all the nefarious action was, it was just a joke. We weren't using it for official email. But yet there's emails. One literally says, one of the emails ironically says, we're too smart to get caught using our email. It's like,
yeah,
gotcha. We're too smart to have a smoking gun in our emails. Is like literally what the email said. And then he has another one where he's talking with Daszak about his reporting and the grant process going on, and says, I'll take this to Tony later on today, of course, meaning Tony Fauci.
Wow.
And then saying, it was just personal stuff going on there, so it was just all inner dealing. And then, Daszak, of course, finally we got funding pulled from him following his testimony in our committee hearing. It's the beginning of accountability. Certainly doesn't account for the millions of lives lost, but it's a start, and so a lot of work being done there.
Well, you guys, you have been busy. I was trying to find yesterday. It's interesting. You've got your what is the gentleman's name that I visited with via email to get you here today?
Damon.
Yes. And Damon had a novel idea, Congressman. Damon said, hey, maybe at some point we could get y'all in a regular rotation.
Yeah,
we're like, we've been trying to do that for what, 5 years? And I said back, great idea.
Great idea.
Way to go. But I told Ash this morning, I'd love to have a deal where the second Tuesday of every month, but you just can't do it. I've watched your schedule in real time.
But it's hard. But we can set something tentatively that might get bumped around a day or so. We'll figure out how to do it.
And we're working on something that even if you're not here, if we couldn't get you in studio, we might still be able to bring you on camera to join us.
We've got
Facebook or something.
The gear set up now, I think, where we should be able to do that. So some of that's been us acquiring stuff on our side.
And that studio is so cool.
So you got the tour.
Oh man, that was cool.
A little block away. So
I was blown away last week. I caught some testimony. There was a judge that Ted Cruz they were having a hearing, and apparently the judge is a lady judge appointed by the Dems, that she had decided that a transgender guy who was like a serial sexual assault person of both boys and women, and the judge decided to put this woman into the general population of a female prison. And Ted Cruz just said what he dressed down to was the DEI side of it, and how you're letting your political agenda affect your work on the bench.
Yeah.
And the judge tried to push back and said, well, at the time we had every indication that this person was, safe. And he goes, you're kidding me, right? We have a serial rapist.
Exactly.
And I was really proud of Senator Cruz for being that forceful. And I've seen you're always polite, you're always kind, it's who you are. But I've seen a much more forceful, Ash, fair to say, maybe almost less patient Michael Cloud, as he seems to be willing to force the issues.
That's what happens when you're inside the Beltway that long.
Right? You're like, what are we going to do about this right now? And I want you to know that all the feedback we get here on the program is positive about your attitude in D.C. We're very, very proud of you. I mean that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, obviously, we're here to serve the people who sent us there and to push back on the crazy swamp that is Washington. But it's unconscionable. The thing that just disturbs me, and you can go hearing after hearing, or budget meeting after budget meeting, approach meeting after approach meeting, but it's just the fact that right now we have this set up to where we're forcing the American taxpayer to pay for the demise of their own country in 1,000 different ways, and it's just unconscionable that continues to happen, and we're doing everything we can in every little level of power we can find to stop that and push back on it.
Last week, and I was out, but Peter Daszak was disbarred.
Yes.
I mean, how rare is this move by HHS, or is it purely politics as we head into the election season for the Biden administration to say, look, we're ferreting out the bad in our...
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little both. And we had the hearing, a week prior to that where he came before our committee hearing. We talked about all the nefarious action that went on, the dollars, American dollars that went to the Wuhan lab. And I even asked him the question. I said, okay, we can all look back at COVID and maybe, okay, we didn't know, whatever, use whatever excuse you want to that we've seen public officials use. And here locally, a lot of it, everybody was trying to figure things out in the first few weeks. But I said, knowing what you know now, would you continue to fund the Wuhan lab? He's like, yes, sure. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, know they destroyed data. That we have... They
intentionally leaked this thing to the world.
And so for him to still have access to U.S. taxpayer dollars, knowing what he knows now and knowing that he would make no change was very concerning. And so,
no doubt.
So happy to see that the funding was pulled for that. But at the same time, I'm also concerned that, okay, situations like this, they try to uphold the institution and happy to let somebody be the fall guy. And so we have to make sure that we don't let him or Dr. Morin's just be the token fall guys where everybody can kind of clap their hands.
Yeah, then they bring the next one in that's going to do exactly what they want to do, right?
It's like you gave him an out and he didn't take it, And you got to wonder,
it's the hubris that they work with, though. Yeah,
you may have a strong opinion. I don't know if it's shareable or not, but I just wonder how much, like, covert stuff. How much was Tony Fauci really involved in? I know about the National Institutes of Health. I know about that and I'm not naive enough to believe that we don't do this on numerous levels with lots of projects all over the world. Well, we can't burn coal here, but we'll burn coal in India to strip mine for lithium because we're trying to make money on batteries.
Right.
I know that kind of stuff happens, and I can't even say that I'm a huge opponent of funding research that we deem important in another country if we can't fund it here. But the idea that Fauci's Institute of Health was involved in funding the Wuhan lab that did develop the COVID virus, and then it ends up getting out, and for him to be the czar that tries to treat it, and I have no doubt personally benefited financially in the program, it irritates me.
I think I've mentioned this on your show before, but we had a closed-door deposition with Fauci already. The first thing he did coming into the room when he came in to sat down, trying to break the ice, I guess, is crack what he thought was a joke. And he said, he sat down across the table and said, during COVID, they wouldn't let us sit this close to each other. And I'm like, they? Like, you were the they, and it's just the kind of hubris, like this is all kind of this comical little science fair project that he's dealt with when millions of people's lives lost and then livelihoods destroyed. We talked to him in the deposition about learning loss, and he said, well, I think the data's still out on that. We don't know that there's been learning loss. Well, every parent knows what their child had to go through and is still recovering from in many aspects during COVID.
Well, and now it's like they admit, well, we made up 6 feet as a distance. The masks, we know they don't work. I remember Fauci saying maybe you should wear 2 masks. I remember that. I was like, are you kidding me? By the way, Chris
Wear a
Mapp.
mask. Don't wear a mask. Wear a mask. Wear 2 masks.
Chris Mapp said, good morning, Congressman.
Hey,
along
good
with
morning.
A good group of folks above said hello to you.
I mean, it just seems like everything we've known about viruses and how to combat them just went out the window with this one.
Oh, yeah. And then the way that many people, very reputable scientists in the scientific community, were silenced, were ostracized, were threatened
Removed
with
from
medical
jobs.
license
Yeah.
being removed, all these different kind of things, and you have local public health officials I know who, like, do I tout the party line? But then their own patients, they're like, here, I have a closet full of ivermectin for you.
Right, exactly. I saw yesterday where
It's
Robert De Niro came and joined the Democrat spectacle across the street from.
What kind of stunt was this? I
Well,
mean,
he comes and talks about how that he kind of points across the street where the trial is. The Democrats are accusing Trump of politicizing his trial while they set up a press conference outside of his trial. But I found it interesting that
with
they showed,
Biden was there, or Biden reps were there? I don't remember exactly which, but
they showed video of De Niro approaching the microphones, and he had an N95 mask on. That tells me all I need to know. The man's outdoors in New York, and he's wearing a mask on his way to. We missed a call from Peter McNally.
Speech too?
Well, huh?
I'm always amazed at, like, actors. He gets up there with a, like, written speech and doesn't even deliver it pretty good. I mean, you're thinking, like,
Yeah, well, it's true. He really did kind of stumble through his written speech.
and I listened to part of it. If he's reelected, elections as we know it are over. He does. I mean, it's all
right.
his feelings, and there was not an ounce of data to back up anything he said. And De Niro, I mean, he lost me years ago,
Yeah.
but he's just a clown.
But we have said for years here that the Democrats seem to do what they accuse the Republicans of doing. Are you concerned that, or are we just subject to the fear mongering? Are you concerned that if, let's say, Biden is reelected, are we heading towards a period where it may be very difficult just to have a fair election ever again in our country? I mean, is it plausible?
I mean, obviously, I'm concerned with our justice system's been completely corrupted right now. People, and understandably so, get frustrated with what's going on in Congress.
Problem I have is people, they almost put the president and that whoever occupies that office on a pedestal that is unattainable for most. They forget that people are human and that they do make mistakes and sin.
Yeah.
And I mean, but they will excuse the person whose party ideology they believe in. Because, I mean, it's pretty apparent Joe Biden's taking a lot of money from a lot of countries, and yet you're going to worry about one video of Donald Trump mocking somebody.
From a purely scriptural standpoint, because I'll have people question me about this all the time. If we're going to look through the people that God chose to use in Scripture,
Often flawed.
very flawed individuals. That's
Noah
one of
was
the
a
things that gives us
drunk.
hope,
Moses was a murderer.
King David
was a philanderer.
You look at the lineage of
And a
Christ,
murderer.
and you have prostitutes, you have adulterers, you have murderers, you have and that's part of the unique redeeming story of Christianity. If we're going to get into a theological story,
We can here.
that
It's our
God
show.
God can use people like that. That's not to excuse or to wash your hands of the behavior or to say that it's right, but to think, my gosh, I've messed up in my own life.
Well, look, I know you
and
to be a godly person. I know that your faith influences your decisions and the way you approach things. I've prayed with you at meal tables.
Mm-hmm.
And we both know that it is not our role to view elected leaders as gods. Don't make Donald Trump your God. Don't make the presidency of the United States your God figurine. He is not.
This is what they do in China and North Korea.
The whole purpose of the left's Marxist move is to replace God with government. And sometimes we, as believers, can be guilty of doing the same thing, where we're trying to get the government to do our job for us.
Yeah.
So do you want a man whose basic body of work is conservative and consistent and in line, or do you want to be affiliated with an entire party whose agenda is to remove God from everything, abort the babies, glorify the sinful nature of all of the LGBTQ committee,
historically been against or for segregation?
No doubt about it. I mean,
And
if you
racist
look at
policies,
the basic agenda you know, I always tell people all I know is I feel real comfortable that Jesus is pro-life. That's just kind of the way I look at it, you know. So I find myself saying, be careful how your feelings allow you to put people on a pedestal. You know, it's difficult.
And there's competing worldviews, right? There's a Judeo-Christian worldview, and then a secular Marxist humanist worldview as well. And when you're talking about public policy, you kind of need to look at those larger things before
Yes, sir.
you know, I mean, I think we should all do our best, although we fall, to walk right, to speak right, to do this kind of things. But the larger scope when it comes to public policy are those bigger issues. You know, in upholding the ability, like the government's job isn't to evangelize people. The government's job is to protect
Yeah.
the believer's right to evangelize people. And so, you know, that's where you stand on these policies.
Sure.
And the country's interests.
But
Absolutely.
I think in D.C. that you're known for your faith. I do. I think, and you know, and by the way, that can put a lot of pressure on you individually to say, okay, I've got to walk by faith because people are watching. They want you to stumble. The world wants you to stumble, and so I know it's a challenge to be that guy every day.
Well, you know, I didn't expect this to be the topic of the day.
Well, but
no,
I've always been
I'm
proud of you
happy
for being willing
Well,
to share your faith.
You know, yeah, but I mean, like me and anyone else, it's a daily walk. You know, it's a daily walk, and you try to do your best. You know, I've always said I'm very cognizant of the fact that at the end of all of this, I'm going to stand before one person, God,
Amen.
about every decision I made, every meeting I've had in private or public, about all those different kind of things. And so to try to do the best and serve with integrity because of that, you know, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that,
We got to take a final
Can-
break.
can we
but
take
on
one
the
break real
back
quick?
side
Yeah.
of this, let's talk about the way some folks had stumbled in Turks and Caicos.
oh, okay.
I did. I switched it
Yeah,
over.
but it's
Oh,
not.
it's not
No.
switching. There it is.
There
Are you
it
happy
is.
now?
I am now.
All right.
It was a weird look.
It was odd.
looked like a 1970s ABC music special.
Tomorrow night, folks, Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. We'll be out there celebrating the Wade and Carter night. You're welcome to come. We'd
Come
love
join
for you
us.
to come. The
winning
party
streak will continue.
Yeah, there will be lots and lots of winners from the Wade and Carter group. Come on out and do some legal gambling. It'll be fun. Ads and offer and adsandoffer.com. You need a new Chevy, Mazda, Mitsubishi, a gently pre-owned vehicle. Come on out to Ads and Offer and let them help you find the car that you need. You're going into summer. See the USA in a Chevrolet. Call Ads and Offer today. A South Texas tradition since 1926. Armor Air, call them. Your AC struggling, your coil freezing up, your secondary drain overflowing, call Armor Air 579-0966.
They'll get your house nice and cool.
They will help you. And reach out to Parvita Wellness. Get in and get healthy.
Go see
Parvita.
Erica Briggs. She'll set you up with meals starting at $6, and even
6,
something
8, and 10,
yeah,
depending on the protein. You'll
and
love
how
it.
much you want. You'll love it.
Get by USA Concrete Coating, whether you want to sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it, put down a tough as nails polyurethane coat that won't.
Crack, stick, peel, or fade.
Reach out to USA Concrete Coating at 578-HOME. And then Went Services. Went for all your generator needs. Went can help you move forward. If the power goes out, your generator will automatically kick on. You don't lose the meat in the freezer. When hamburger's $47 a pound, you don't want to lose it. Reach out to Went for all your generator needs. So we're visiting with and very fortunate to have access to our Congressman, Michael Cloud. Michael's been elected 46 times now over about a 6-year
And
period.
he's only served 2 terms.
He's only served 2 full terms with lots and lots of
Before that was
elections.
the first go around.
Right.
45 of those the first year.
Yeah, felt like that anyway.
He, yeah, you and Chris Mapp just travel together to all the events now. It's just part of the deal. He loads up with you.
He's a good guy.
He is
Speaking
a
of
great
which,
guy.
people say, "Oh, this government can't work together," but you were part of a bipartisan group
Yeah.
that went to Turks and Caicos because, as we just talked about, a slip up. Some Americans had some
Yeah,
bullets in their in their luggage, and they got
Yeah, exactly. Turks and Caicos passed a law in February allegedly deal with, gang violence. I think they were trying to deal with that. The unfortunate side effects is that our American tourists had got swept up in having a couple rounds left in
Yeah.
their bags. One, I actually have the same backpack as one of the guys who was there, and I know very easily how easy it is for a little pin or something very skinny to, like, literally it was 2 rounds in the seams of the bag, and the only way he would have known is if he had like an X-ray machine at home before he went to the airport.
Wow, that's what all the smugglers say.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just 2 kilos.
But in all these cases, there's no firing mechanism. It's a few rounds in the bottom of a bag, and they were facing, which according to their law was 12 years minimum prison time, and they're not the nicest prisons either. The UN has addressed that. And so we went down there to express concern, just really, for justice to be done in these cases. We understand the need for us to follow laws, and we weren't asking for a special carve-out for Americans even, but just the fact that, if there's someone doing criminality, we understand that. But these are people coming there on their 40th anniversary trip. You had daughters who sent their mom on, so you have a grandmother there who never fired a gun, had a couple rounds in her bag, had purchased a handgun because she was taking care of the grandkids and just wanted to, in case something happened, have something there. So these are the stories that you're hearing. And then it was really concerning, the fact, there were 2 dads who were told they couldn't say goodbye to their family as they put them on a plane to go home while they detained the dads, and so we addressed that as well. Like, okay, we understand you trying to have to follow your laws, although we think there's something work that needs to be done there, but you should be humane about it at least. And so since then, we've already seen two cases come before. They've both been sentenced to time served, and
Good.
So they can save face. And
right, yeah.
Don't we send them enough aid in some form to say, hey, I want my people back?
Well, and that was one of the things, because they were saying, well, your TSA should have caught this. And first of all, it's like, well, you have, how many airports do you have?
Right.
In an island of 40 to 60,000 people. And the other thing is we provide, our taxpayer dollars help provide support in the Caribbean to help counteract drug trafficking and those sort of things. So we're already doing more to keep that out of their country than they are. And so, to have Americans caught up for a couple of rounds, it was, okay, we're just asking for justice to be done in these cases. We're not, and 12-year sentence for something that is completely an accident with no nefarious intent at all was not just. And so we're glad to see that they've heard us and listened, and glad to see what so far has been favorable outcomes.
Good deal. What's coming up? What's on the agenda? Are you in the district for a while, or are you traveling?
This week, today meetings with throughout Victoria, and then tomorrow headed to Corpus Christi, same sort of thing, just doing the work of the people. Next week we'll be headed back to DC, and of course the big thing on the agenda will be the Fauci hearing. So
I do want to share with you. I know you spoke with Sheriff Louderback out in the green room there, but we just coming off the House District runoff here, and by my, I kind of do a lot of ciphering, ought, and carry my ought and all that. I'm guessing that your next election cycle is going to require about $27,900,000 in order to.
Oh, okay.
That's about what the budget's. Don't you think, Ash? That's going to need to be the budget. It is unbelievable to me, and I know that you're bogged down, lots to do on the federal level, but it has blown Victoria County's mind how much money was spent on a state district race. I mean, between the two guys, well over $1.5 million.
Oh wow, yeah.
And just it blows your mind. But we did see some feedback that negative campaigning just doesn't work in our area. People like to focus on the positives, on what you can do
to fix the issues.
So I think it's we just applaud you for being out among the people the way I know you are. I encourage you. Michael has an office in downtown Victoria. It has staff. If you need to reach out to the congressman, if you want to reach out to the congressman, you can do so. Your calls will be returned. I don't think I've ever known anybody that I could say more sincerely is proud to serve. I think Congressman Cloud is here to help. So if you need him, call him.
Yeah, please do. You can go to cloud.house.gov. Lots of ways to connect there. Sign up for our weekly email list. We call it the report to the boss. I tell people that all the time. But yeah, we have the new office. It's at 120 Main on the 3rd floor. There's a few entrances there, so it's the one across from the Box Coffee
Gotcha.
stand there. So if you come in there, go to the 3rd floor. We're right off the elevator.
Beautiful place.
And they're
It's
there
nice.
to help. So
Awesome.
Well, we
Thank you,
always
sir.
appreciate you coming by and just thank you for being accessible. You haven't, to me, you haven't changed a bit since you took office, and we appreciate it.
well, thank you.
All right.
keep praying. Keep us in your prayers.
Yeah. So,
Keep
I
working on
mean, you can appreciate, my daddy used to tell me a lot of good men go to D.C., very few good men come home. But we still think you're a good one.
Well, appreciate it.
We appreciate
God
you,
bless
sir.
y'all.
My Aunt Betty said hi, by the way.
Hi, Aunt Betty.
There you go. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.